Do your thoughts ever feel louder at night than the world around you? That restless mental loop, the fear of what's to come, or the regret of what's been it, can leave you drained and directionless. But there is another way to face it. In this video, we uncover 13 powerful lessons from Stoic philosophy that will help you regain clarity, inner peace, and self-control. From Marcus Aurelius to Epictetus, these ancient minds faced the same battles we do today, and they left us the tools to overcome them. You'll learn how to quiet your mind, take decisive action, live by your values, and stop letting fear dictate your life. Each lesson is a step toward reclaiming your focus and living more intentionally. So whether you're dealing with stress, anxiety, or the pressure to be perfect, take a deep breath. This is where your reset begins. Watch till the end, because the last lesson might just be the one that sets you free. When your mind won't stop talking to you, there is a moment each night, just as the world begins to fall silent, when your mind does the opposite. It stirs, it speaks, it shouts. You lie in bed, staring into the dark ceiling. Your body still, but your thoughts loud and restless. You replay every awkward moment from the day. You predict every possible disaster that tomorrow could bring. You wonder if that one message sounded too desperate. You wonder if you will ever feel at peace again. This is the battlefield of overthinking, where your worst fears dress up as logic and whisper lies in your ear. But you are not broken. You are not alone. The ancient Stoics too understood this battle. They faced it with the clarity of reason and the discipline of perspective. To them, the chaos of the mind was not a flaw, but a signal. It was a sign that the mind was gripping too tightly to things it could not control. So the next time your thoughts begin to spiral, stop and ask yourself, is this within my power? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself often to return to what was real, to what was present. He knew the mind's worst habit is escaping into imagined pain. Your thoughts are not your enemy, but they need direction. When they race ahead, bring them back. When they drag behind, return to now. What you do in this moment matters more than what your mind fears about the next. You don't need to win the war in your head tonight. You just need to reclaim your attention one breath at a time. How can Stoicism help you find peace again? You are not the only one searching for peace in the noise. In a world filled with endless stimulation, opinions, and pressure to always be achieving something, the mind becomes a crowded marketplace. Everyone is shouting for your attention. Social media urges you to compare. Deadlines whisper urgency. Expectations push and pull from every direction. You begin to lose your center. You start to forget who you are beneath all the noise. This is where Stoicism enters, not as an escape, but as an anchor. It does not promise to remove all chaos, but it offers clarity through it. The Stoics taught that peace is not found by changing the world around you, but by changing how you see it. They believed in focusing only on what you can control, your actions, your attitude, your thoughts. This focus becomes your shield. Imagine waking up and not being pulled immediately by every demand. Imagine facing your day with calm intention instead of rushing into reaction. That is what Stoicism trains you for. Not to be cold or distant, but to remain steady when life throws storms your way. Seneca said it well: if a person knows not to which port they sail, no wind is favorable. Stoicism gives you direction not as a rigid rule, but as a compass for your values. You do not need to shut out the world to find peace. You just need a different lens, one that begins with clarity, honesty, and a return to what truly matters. In the end, the world may stay chaotic, but your mind does not have to. How Stoicism helps you break free from analysis paralysis. Have you ever spent hours thinking about doing something but never actually started? Your mind loops through scenarios, what ifs, and imagined outcomes until the moment passes. This is the trap of analysis paralysis. It feels like you are being productive because your thoughts are active, but in reality, you are standing still. The Stoics saw this clearly. Thought without action is like fire without fuel. It burns out before it ever matters. Marcus Aurelius believed that clarity comes not from perfect planning, but from movement. You do not need the full map to take the first step. You just need direction. He wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is more than a quote. It is a challenge. Stop waiting for certainty. It never arrives. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. Every small action you take breaks the grip of doubt. Even writing one line, making one call, or asking one question shifts your energy. You begin to replace fear with momentum. The mind, once caught in endless loops, finds a new rhythm, one of doing, one of courage. Stoicism teaches us that action is the medicine for hesitation. It does not ignore fear. It moves anyway. You do not need to feel confident before starting. Confidence is what grows as you keep showing up. So take one step, just one, not because everything is clear, but because doing something is always better than doing nothing. No one's paying as much attention to you as you think. How many times have you held back from saying something, posting something, or trying something new because you were afraid of being judged? That moment of hesitation grows into silence, and the opportunity slips away. You convince yourself that everyone is watching, that every move you make will be examined, criticized, and remembered. But here's the truth. Most people are not thinking about you at all. They are too busy thinking about themselves. The Stoics understood this psychological trap. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the opinion of others has no power unless you grant it. We build imaginary audiences in our minds, and then we perform for them. But those audiences do not exist. What they think, if they even think of you at all, is fleeting and often irrelevant. Real freedom begins when you stop living for approval. It begins when you realize that your time is too precious to waste on imagined scrutiny. You are not here to impress the crowd. You are here to grow, to learn, to live in alignment with your own values. That is what makes life meaningful. The next time you hesitate, ask yourself this: am I afraid of failing, or am I afraid of being seen failing? One is about growth. The other is about ego. Stoicism invites us to choose humility over image, progress over perfection, purpose over popularity. You are not the center of attention. And that is not a curse. It is a gift. It means you are free to act, to risk, to live without being crushed by the weight of constant judgment. You're losing in the meaningless game of comparison. It happens quietly. You open your phone, scroll through a few posts, and suddenly, without even noticing, you feel smaller. Someone has a better job. Someone has a perfect family. Someone is on vacation again. You were having a good day until 2 minutes ago. Now it feels like you are behind, like you are not enough. This is the silent damage of comparison. It tricks you into measuring your worth against someone else's highlight reel. But what you see is not their full life. It is the edited version, the filtered moments. The Stoics warned against this trap long ago. Epictetus taught that we should focus only on what is within our control. Another person's success, appearance, or path is not yours to control, so it should not be your burden. When you constantly compare, you give away your peace. You become blind to your own progress. You chase shadows instead of building something real. But when you shift focus back to your own path, something changes. You start to notice your effort, your resilience, your values. You remember that growth is not a race. It is a personal journey. The Stoics believe that the only true measure of success is how closely you live to your principles, not how many likes you get, not how much others approve. So the next time you catch yourself comparing, pause, ask yourself who you are becoming. Ask what really matters. Your path does not need to look like anyone else's. It only needs to be true to you. Perfection is the trap that keeps you stuck. You want to start, you have ideas, you feel inspired, but then a voice creeps in. It says it is not ready. It says you are not good enough yet. So you wait. You plan, you overthink, days turn into weeks, and nothing is done. The idea stays in your head, untouched by action. This is the perfection trap. It tells you that everything must be flawless before it begins. But in truth, that moment never comes. The Stoics knew this. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The fear of making a mistake often causes more pain than the mistake itself. Perfection is a moving target. As you chase it, it keeps shifting. You never arrive. What if you allowed yourself to be imperfect? What if you saw flaws not as failures but as part of the process? Progress only happens when we are willing to look foolish to learn to fall and get back up. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle is not blocking your path, it is shaping it. You do not need to be perfect to begin. You need to begin to become better. Start where you are with what you have. You will never feel completely ready. That is okay. What matters is that you take the first step. Let go of the need to get it right the first time. Just start. In action, you will find clarity. In movement, you will find strength. Perfection is not the path to greatness. Courage is. Emotions are not reality. Don't let them fool you. There are moments when a single emotion takes over everything. Anger, fear, sadness. It feels total. It colors the world in one tone, distorting how we see ourselves and in others. You tell yourself this situation is hopeless. You believe that one mistake defines you. But emotions are not facts. They are experiences. They come and go just like clouds across the sky. The Stoics were clear about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Real strength is not in avoiding emotion, but in not being ruled by it. Emotions are signals, not commands. They alert you to something, but they do not decide your response. That part is up to you. When you feel overwhelmed, pause, step back. Ask yourself, is this feeling showing me the truth, or is it just noise? Clarity begins when you create space between what you feel and how you act. That space is where your freedom lives. Without it, you become reactive. You let emotions decide your words, your actions, your future. You are allowed to feel deeply. You are not weak for having emotions, but you are also not meant to follow them blindly. Stoicism teaches restraint, not suppression. It teaches presence, not numbness. To observe your emotion without being consumed by it is a form of mastery, and mastery leads to freedom. The next time your emotions rise, like a wave, ride it, but do not drown. Let the feeling pass through. Breathe, think, then choose your response with calm and clarity. That is what it means to lead yourself. Results don't define you, action does. You work hard, you care, you plan carefully, but sometimes things do not go your way. The result is not what you hoped for. You feel like a failure. You question your worth. But the truth is, outcomes do not define you. Your effort does. Your values do. What you choose to do, even when things are uncertain, says far more about who you are than any result ever will. The Stoics knew that outcomes are often out of our control. They believed that what matters is not what happens, but how you respond. Epictetus reminded us to focus on what is within our power, our thoughts, our choices, our actions. That is where your strength lives, not in the result, but in the process. When you tie your worth to success, you build on shaky ground, because success by nature is unpredictable. But if you measure yourself by your commitment, by your courage to act, you create a foundation that no failure can shake. This mindset frees you. It turns effort into purpose and struggle into progress. You will not always win. You will not always see immediate rewards. But each time you show up, each time you act with intention, you become stronger, more resilient, more alive. The Stoics teach that the quality of your life is shaped not by what you achieve, but by how you live. So let go of what you cannot control. Focus on the action. That is where meaning is found. That is where you take your power back. Your whole life exists in this very moment. Your mind often pulls you in two directions. One toward the past, replaying mistakes and regrets. The other toward the future, imagining what could go wrong. Both directions steal your peace. Both disconnect you from the only place where life actually happens, the present moment. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should confine ourselves to the present. He knew that too much time spent in yesterday or tomorrow is a recipe for anxiety and distraction. The present is not just a passing second. It is your point of power. It is where you think, act, and choose. It is where change begins. When you anchor yourself in the present, your thoughts slow down. You begin to notice small things again. Your breath, the sound of the wind, the way light moves through a room. You return to what is real, and in that return, you find clarity. This does not mean ignoring the past or refusing to plan ahead. It means not letting them consume you. The past can guide, but it should not trap. The future can inspire, but it should not paralyze. The only moment you can touch is now. When your mind starts to drift, bring it back with something simple. A breath, a step, a single clear action. The present is not just where life is lived. It is where life is shaped. And the more you live in it, the more control you gain over your thoughts, your choices, and your peace. You don't have to control everything, just control yourself. You try to plan everything, predict every outcome, prevent every mistake. But life resists control. It bends in unexpected ways. It throws obstacles in your path without warning. And the more you try to control everything, the more exhausted and anxious you become. Control is not power. Wisdom is knowing what to control and what to let go. The Stoics were masters of this. Epictetus taught that some things are within our control and others are not. Simple but powerful. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions. These are yours. Other people's opinions, the weather, the outcome of your efforts, these are not. Peace begins the moment you stop trying to own what was never yours. When you accept this truth, you unlock a new kind of strength. You become resilient, not because life is easier, but because you stop fighting against reality. You conserve energy for what matters. You respond with calm instead of reacting with fear. You can influence outcomes, but you cannot guarantee them. What you can always do is show up with clarity, act with purpose, and align with your values. That is where your real power lives, not in control, but in conscious action. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, am I focusing on what I can control or what I wish I could? Shift your energy. Return to your center. Let go of the need to control everything. Take hold of yourself instead, because in mastering yourself, you learn how to live with strength and peace, no matter what the world brings. Values are your compass. Don't live without direction. Life can be busy. You wake up, check your phone, respond to messages, chase deadlines, try to keep up. But in the rush, it is easy to forget something essential: direction. Purpose. You move, but where are you going? You work hard, but for what? Without a clear set of values, you drift. You say yes when you should say no. You seek approval instead of truth. You react instead of choose. The Stoics believed that living without values is like sailing without a compass. You may move fast, but you are lost. True strength, they taught, begins with knowing what matters most. Not to the world, but to you. Integrity, courage, compassion, discipline. Whatever your values are, they must be chosen consciously. Not inherited, not assumed, defined. When you define your values, decisions become clearer. You stop chasing everything and start choosing what aligns. You find peace not because life gets easier, but because you know what to say no to. You stop being pulled in every direction. You stand firm, grounded, purposeful. Your values will not make you perfect, but they will make you consistent. And consistency builds trust in yourself, in your actions, in your path. So take the time to ask yourself, what do I stand for? What kind of person am I becoming? Let the answers shape your days. Because when you live with direction, even the hardest storms cannot break you. You bend, but you do not fall. Freedom doesn't come from outside, but from within. Many people chase freedom as if it is something to be earned or granted. A better job, more money, fewer responsibilities. But even when these things arrive, the feeling of freedom often does not. That is because true freedom is not about your circumstances. It is about your relationship with them. You are not free when nothing bothers you. You are free when nothing controls you. The Stoics saw freedom as an inner state. Epictetus was born a slave, yet he taught the world what it means to be truly free. How? By mastering what is within. He knew that no one can imprison your mind unless you let them. Freedom begins when you stop being a prisoner to your own emotions, your fears, your cravings for approval. When your peace depends on outside validation, you are never safe. One comment, one failure, one shift in fortune can shake your entire world. But when your sense of self is rooted in your own principles, you stand firm, calm, unshaken. This kind of freedom does not require a perfect life. It only requires a disciplined mind, a mind that knows how to pause, how to choose, how to say this is within me and this is not. That clarity is power. The next time you feel trapped by pressure, ask yourself where the cage truly is. Is it around you or inside you? The door to freedom is always open, but only you can walk through it, not by escaping life, but by rising above it from the inside out. Adversity won't kill you. It forges your strength. There are moments in life that feel unbearable. A sudden loss, a betrayal, a failure that hits you hard. You question everything. Why me? Why now? You feel like breaking, but what if this is not your breaking point, but your shaping point? What if this pain is not the end of you, but the beginning of something stronger? The Stoics did not fear adversity. They welcomed it as a teacher. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. To them, every challenge was a chance to grow, not just to survive, but to become more resilient, more clear, more aligned with what truly matters. You do not build strength in comfort. You build it in struggle, in choosing to rise when you could fall, in choosing to learn when you could close off, in choosing to keep going when quitting feels easier. Resilience is not about never feeling pain. It is about not letting pain define you. The next time you face something difficult, remember this: the fire that burns also hardens steel. You are being shaped, not punished. You are being stretched, not broken. Growth hurts, but it also frees. And each time you endure, you create a deeper version of yourself. One that knows how to bend but not break. One that knows how to lose but not be lost. You may not have chosen the pain, but you can choose what it makes of you, and that choice is your power. Stillness is not weakness, it is control. In a world obsessed with speed and constant motion, stillness is often misunderstood. People assume that if you are not moving, you are falling behind. That if you are quiet, you have nothing to say. But true stillness is not the absence of action. It is the mastery of reaction. It is the ability to pause to see clearly and to respond with intention rather than impulse. The Stoics practiced this kind of stillness daily. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he found time to sit in silence and reflect. He knew that without stillness, the mind becomes chaotic. And when the mind is chaotic, decisions are weak, emotions dominate, and clarity disappears. Stillness is not withdrawal from life. It is engagement with life at a deeper level. It is what allows you to hear your own thoughts in a noisy world. It gives you the space to choose your next move, not out of fear, but from strength. When you pause before reacting, you regain power. You shift from being controlled to being in control, from being pulled to being centered. Stillness is not doing nothing. It is doing the inner work, observing, understanding, and choosing. This is where your discipline is forged. This is where your wisdom takes root. The next time the world tries to rush you, remember that your pace is your power. You are not here to run someone else's race. You are here to walk your own path with clarity and conviction. In stillness, you do not lose momentum. You gain direction. Be who you are one moment at a time. Life does not ask you to be perfect. It simply asks you to be awake, to be brave, and to be honest with yourself. Every step, every choice, every breath is a chance to live in alignment with your values. Stoicism is not the easiest path, but it is the clearest. And in that clarity, you do not just find peace, you find yourself. Not the version others expect, but the person you were born to be.